Alapin Sicilian trap explained, queen sacrifice leads to bishop checkmate. Welcome to this incredible Alapin Sicilian trap. White plays the Alapin variation, and black makes a subtle inaccuracy by playing knight to c6 early. Opening phase, the game begins with e4, the king's pawn opening. Black responds with c5, the Sicilian defense. White plays c3. This is the Alapin variation, a solid way to fight the Sicilian. Black brings the knight to c6, which is actually a slight inaccuracy. The best move here is d5 or nf6. White pushes d4, and after the exchange on d4, white recaptures with the c3 pawn. Now black pushes d5, challenging white's center. White captures with the e-pawn, and black recaptures with the queen. The trap begins. White develops the knight to f3. Black pins it with the bishop to g4, which looks natural. This is the critical moment. White plays knight to c3, attacking the queen. Black makes a terrible mistake. Bishop captures on f3. This loses immediately. White captures the queen with the knight on d5. Black has no choice but to recapture with the bishop on d1. Now white's knight jumps to c7, forking the king and rook. The king moves to d8. White captures the rook on a8. The chaos continues. Black's bishop retreats to h5. White pushes pawn to f3 to prevent the black knight from coming to g4. Black's knight captures on f4, attacking white's position. White develops the bishop to f4. Black's knight gives check on c2, forcing the white king to f2. Then black's knight captures the rook on a1. White brings the other bishop to b5, developing with tempo. Black pushes pawn to e5, trying to create counterplay. The king hunt. White plays rook to d1 check. The black king moves to c8. White gives another rook check on c1. The king returns to d8. White captures the e5 pawn with the bishop. Black develops the knight to f6. White's attack intensifies. White gives a devastating bishop check on c7. The black king runs to e7. White's rook checks on e1. Black blocks with the knight giving check on e4. White simply captures the knight with the rook, giving check. The king runs to f6. White gives another bishop check on e5. The king goes to g6. The final combination. White pushes pawn to g4, threatening the bishop on h5. Black gives a bishop check on c5, but white simply moves the king to g3. Black captures the rook on a8, but is too late. White captures the bishop on h5 with the pawn, giving check. The king takes back on h5. White captures the pawn on g7 with the bishop. The black king moves to g6. White's rook gives a beautiful check on g4. The king flees to f5, and checkmate. White's bishop slides to d7, delivering checkmate. The black king is trapped with nowhere to run. This game shows a beautiful queen sacrifice, leading to a king hunt and a final bishop checkmate. A perfect example of the Alapin Sicilian traps.